how to access it. I know we all had a specific RS Payne login last year, but with the division purchasing it for everybody this year, we now have it in ClassLink. So again, if you don't use ClassLink, I highly recommend that you use ClassLink. It will help. It's just much easier to get to your apps and programs that we use. Edulastic is on there, so many other things, but you also see that Brainingcamp is now on there. So once you get into ClassLink, you can just click on Brainingcamp, and then now that is going to bring you to the main page. And again, this is fairly similar to what we've seen in the past. All of your manipulatives that you can use are down here. So you have algebra tiles, base 10 blocks, all the way up to the XY coordinate board. So you have a few different ones that you can use. And then up here in the top is going to be your share code screen. That is how you can access what we call tasks in Brainingcamp, or I kind of like to equate them to worksheets in a way, but we'll get more on that in just a little bit. So again, the manipulative screen will bring you right here. And then this second tab up on the top is resources. This is where you can go and pretty much access anything that Brainingcamp is going to have. You have webinars. I have watched a few of them. They're very useful to kind of help you dive in a little bit deeper. Some of them are long, some of them are short. But again, they are all very useful in just learning about the program and learning how to use it and seeing how other people use it as well. I know when I was in the class, I just loved seeing how other people use things and kind of caught ideas that way. There are live webinars that they offer, but also recordings as well. Then on the right-hand side, again, you have tutorials of seeing students use it. So very similar to those webinars, but a little bit more kind of geared towards the classroom and how students are using it, as opposed to teachers telling you or learning about the program. And then this middle one here is kind of going to segue into the next thing, is tasks. So I said earlier, this share code button up on the top is how you will access the tasks. So once you click on tasks, you'll see that it brings you to a pre-made library of tasks that Brainingcamp has created or others have created and Brainingcamp has put on. You can filter it by grade, and you can also filter it by domain or kind of what the strand you're looking for. Now, again, when you click on one of these, did I lose you, or are you guys still here?
You're kind of going in and out just a little bit.
I'm going in and out. Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right, so on the tasks, this is where you can build the pre-made ones. And it kind of brings you up to a task page. So it gives you a little bit of your objective, the description of the task, and what you want to, how you can use it in the classroom. It tells you the manipulatives that you can use, and extension activities, and just again, a little bit more about the task, and then some math talks as well. But if you want to use this task, so now we'll kind of go into the share code and how to use different things. So you'll see right on the top above the little picture, this is where it usually is on these task cards. You'll see this share code. So all you have to do is just copy that, and then go back to your Brainingcamp page. And then once you just paste that in here, and you hit go, it's going to bring you to that task. Now, again, most of those things are locked. So the pre-made task pages are locked. But now this would be the same thing you want to do with students. You can give them that task, that share code, and they can do it individually. So this is the one thing, the two sides of Brainingcamp now that you can use. There's a function called live, which we'll go over in just a moment. Or there is just sharing out a code and letting your students use it. So when Ms. Fleshman and I were kind of talking about this, we kind of equated it to handing out a worksheet in your classroom, or having your students do something and not necessarily monitoring them, just kind of free play, or even just giving those manipulatives out in the beginning. I know when I was in the classroom, I would give my manipulatives out to my students for the first 5 minutes and let them kind of just play around with them a little bit, get used to those manipulatives so they have a better understanding and they kind of get that play out. So when you do your share code, you're not monitoring them. You can walk around the classroom to monitor, but you'll see in a little bit how live you'll actually get a little tile very similar to GoGuardian. But when you give them that share code, they open it up, and again, they access it the very same way. They'll log into ClassLink, go on Brainingcamp, and you can post that share code on the front of your screen. You can post it on your TV somewhere, and they can input that and they'll access it just like you would. So again, you'll see whatever type of manipulative they're using, you can drag from the left. So again, on Brainingcamp, this is the main page. So you're on your task now. Your manipulatives are always going to be on your left-hand side here. So again, we're using the 2-color counters for this one. Students can enter in text if they want to. They can box things in with a rounded or a square. And then you can also have a circle and a line. So there's different tools that you can use. And again, you can do this when you create your own tasks as well. And then there are various things like 5 and 10 frames and things like that. So that is using one of those pre-made tasks. So again, you kind of just put that share code in there. Students can use it however they would like to. And then if you just click back, it's just going to bring you to the main home screen here. But say you want to just play around a little bit, or you're modeling something with base 10 blocks in your classroom. So you just go into the base 10 blocks. And again, this is what it looks like. You have your manipulatives on the left-hand side. You have your blank workspace. And then you have along the bottom, you have some tools as well. You have a back button and a forward button. So if you added something and you didn't want to do that, you can back, you can clear all. So again, on the bottom screen here, you have a fine tip pen where you can change the colors and the thickness. You have your eraser, and then you also have a highlighter on the bottom. Now, I will say, Miss Leonard and I have worked through this a lot last year because I know she utilized it a lot on the browser on her TV. For some reason, because the browsers are that Android operating system in the TV, Brainingcamp, for some reason, doesn't play nice with that. So this bottom screen and some of the bottom tools get cut off. So the way I would suggest it, if you are using it on your TV, is to either screencast or connect via HDMI. So that way you're going to get the full experience of that browser and the full experience of Brainingcamp. We are working on trying to see what we can do to fix that. If there's another browser that we can push out and utilize through the TV, but unfortunately our attempts have not yielded anything successful in that just yet. So again, when you want to use Brainingcamp in the classroom, we suggest you either cast or connect your computer via HDMI. Any questions so far? Oh, I am out of Zoom right now. Oh, wow. I've just been talking.
I see you.
Oh, okay. Whew. Never mind. I couldn't see it on the bottom there, so we're good. All right. So down on the bottom right, you have what's called your workspace. So now in each manipulative, they have pre-made workspaces. So that that Brainingcamp has thought, okay, this will work well with base 10 blocks, or this will work well with hundreds charts. So the basic for base 10 is just blank. So you can kind of take it out and count, and you can go however you want to, or write it up here. And then say we want to clear all, and we want to try a different workspace. So we go to place value. So now that brings up a place value chart that is, you can play around with it a little bit. So you can put your hundreds in there, and you'll see on the bottom, it automatically adds up what you have in there. So that way you can see the number form there, as well as the base 10 blocks. You can go, you have factors, you have a lot of different workspaces that you can add in for each one. And you have an addition page and a subtraction page as well. So let's go back to the basic. And then one cool thing about these is these manipulatives are, what's the word I want to use? They are, you can play around with them a little bit. So you can break it here. So we broke it down. And you have, so we just saw that that hundreds broke into 10 rods. So then you can then move those around. So this is great for showing students. I know one of the things about base 10 blocks that I did not necessarily, that I saw as an issue is when you're using them in the classroom, those students see that base 10 block as just a 1. It's really hard for them to kind of visualize those 10 individual blocks, especially in the lower elementary grade, when you're trying to push that it is, you know, it's 10 ones. They just see one stick. So they say, oh, this is 1. But on Brainingcamp, the really neat thing is you can kind of manipulate it and you can say, well, that's true. It is one group of 10, but watch what happens when you break it up like that. It can break up into the ones, and then you can even regroup it back together. So that way you could then grab all of these and regroup them back together. So let's go out quickly to another one. Let's see, we can go to the color tiles. This one's kind of cool because I will show you the use of the 10 frame. So say you want to use something with a 10 frame. Again, they work well with each other because you can get these out here. You can pull these out and say you want to show some addition things or something like that. You can grab these and just snap them right into the 10 frame. So again, each asset will play with one another and you can kind of break it down that way as well. And you can toggle the color from here if you need to as well. But again, I suggest you guys, if you have not used it yet, just kind of get in and play around. Your manipulatives and your tools are always going to be here on the left. Your annotations and workspace are going to be along the bottom. And then up here is where you are going to be able to share, and kind of what we'll go over now is live. And then I know Ms. Fleshman has something as well. So Ms. Fleshman, do you have anything to add before we go to live?
I don't.
Perfect.
Not yet.
All right.
Okay.
So yeah, so up here in the top, we'll go. So I pre-made one that you could kind of use for skip counting. So I know skip counting was something that we typically see students have issues with. So I had pre-made a task. So yesterday I went in with my hundreds board, kind of pre-made a task, and then I just saved the share code. So I'm not in it. It doesn't necessarily save anywhere. It just kind of saves. Brainingcamp remembers the share code. So I just click go. And I'll see now that this is the task that I created yesterday. I used my hundreds board. I added some tiles, and then again, the hundreds board is, you can play around with it and you can hide numbers and things like that. So that way you can have students either write them in or they can check it and kind of go through and practice as they are skip counting. But again, let's talk about how you can share that and then how you can also go to live. So that's the really neat function we want to show today. So in the top right, you'll see that blue share button. So again, what I did to get my share code was I just clicked share code here, and that's going to bring up a link or that share code right there. So again, you can create a task and then you can write that share code down, and then anytime you want to use that task, again, like you kind of save a worksheet or you used to save worksheets in a binder, you can save these share codes on a Google Sheet. And again, you can still adjust them. You can lock things so that way when you do share them, students can't use it or move or anything like that. But you can still edit it as you go through, and then you would just need a new share code. So once you edit it, you would have that new share code. But let's go to live, and I'm going to put this in the chat. So we're going to start a live session. So live sessions are really neat. They're kind of similar to, actually here, if you guys see this, you can see it on my screen. So if you want to see that code, just go into Access Brainingcamp through ClassLink, and then put this share code in that top right-hand corner. I put the share code in the chat as well.
So when it's live like this,
Yes.
do they each have their own like working worksheet? Like we're not all on the same thing.
Yes. So,
Okay.
so what I kind of want to show, if you can, once you're in live, kind of minimize your screen and go back to the Zoom. Hold on, once I have a direct, Miss Martin, are you still having issues with ClassLink?
Yeah, every time I click on it, it says that I don't have an account, which I used ClassLink last week. So
okay, so you're okay. I will check in just a moment after the Zoom to see if there's some what we can kind of do there to help you out there.
okay, thank you.
All right, so Miss Hashin, was that you that asked that question?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, sorry about like the live thing. That was me,
Yeah.
Leah.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. So Miss
Okay.
Colstock. So yeah, so live is similar to having that share code. So now you are in. So if you guys can go around and you can see. I can do things individually from everybody in my live class. So again, if you look on that Zoom, you'll see the tiles along the bottom, very similar to Go Guardian in a way, where I can kind of monitor what my students are doing. So again, live gives them that initial share code. So very similar to how we looked at that task earlier, but it gives them their own workspace to play in, but you can monitor, you can push out. So if you want to make changes, you can push out. But the really neat thing about live as well is once you've done this with your students and you say, okay, here's what I want you to accomplish, your students can say they're done, or they can, on your end, you'll see that you can like raise a hand. You can have different ways of talking to the teacher, and I can send messages to everybody. So you should now see a message on your side, so the teacher can send messages to people, and I can look in individually on various like on workspaces, so I can look at them and see what students are doing. But then I can also export. So say you want your students to complete a task and write an answer on there, I can then PDF export it, and that way I have everybody's work saved as a picture. And again, I see 1, I see 02, 03, and then EF. So Miss Fleshman has changed her name. So that way students can also change their name a little bit in there as well. They can typically put their initials or something like that. So, but yeah, you guys feel free to play around. And again, as the teacher, you will be able to see what your students are doing. Again, very similar to Go Guardian in live. Any other questions regarding live? So again, say I want to make changes and I want to just put, okay, so this is what you should be doing, putting the blue tiles in between the yellow. I can then push this to everybody. I can choose my students I want to push it to. And then everybody's workspace should change now to match that of my main teacher workspace.
Okay, we only have 5 more minutes. Do you
Yep.
want to, Gordon, can you, I share my screen so I can show the 5th grade
Yes, you can.
Standard, okay. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I'm going to show you quick for upper levels, fourth and fifth, and then also maybe even sixth. Third grade, you can do this too. Anybody can use these, but I picked a 5.2, which is comparing equivalent fractions and decimals, which I know is a tough one. So I'm just going to share my screen really quick and show you some really cool things that I would do if I was using this in the classroom. So the very first thing I would use is the fraction tiles. Here you can pull out, and this again, like Gordon said, when you give them the actual concrete manipulatives, they can follow exactly what you're doing. Or you can show them first, or you could do it together. I mean, you could do it all many different ways. So a way to find equivalent fractions is this is your whole, this is your one whole. And when you click on it up here, there's toggle fill. So you could take that off. So now I have a one whole that's blank. So if I copy it, I could come down here and I can show that 3/3 make a whole, right? And then I can copy it again real quick. And then the more and more you use it, the quicker you'll be able to create copies. Once I place it in, I just have to click it again and it will follow suit right after. So that was super cool how you could show equivalents for whole using that. Then you could also go to and you could do a lot more with it, but that's just the initial showing equivalencies. So let me go back to that real quick. Here's your 1/2. So again, you would highlight it, untoggle. Now, how many 8ths are equal to 1/2? So you would show this. Now you could show this on the board while they're pulling out their actual chips themselves. You can get rid of that, do it again, untoggle fill. And then what about fifths, boys and girls? Let's try. Let's see. Nope, fifths are not equivalent. You can't find a half, right? An equal half. So then there's also fraction circles that are super cool. You can do the same exact thing here. Again, in like your workspace. Oh, I can't see. This thing I thought was super cool too. You can put in your fractions, and you can see equivalencies this way. You can adjust this whole wheel here. So if you're looking at fifths, quarters, all these types of things I thought was super cool. You can use those. For fractions and decimals comparisons, here are your base 10, like Gordon was showing you. I would go to place value. And when you go to place value, this is of course, your whole numbers. You could, oops, sorry. You'll have to go in and like play with them. But here, you can increase your numbers here if you want to add multiple numbers. But when you come down to to settings, you change to decimals. So now you have because you're changing your model, right? This flat is no longer one whole. Actually, it is a 1. And then you have your tenths and then your hundredths. And so if you wanted to show them how it could change, your tenths are really 10 hundredths. And then, so you can model that if you don't want to get out all the blocks or you're not in small group. I really, really liked how it shows groups too. Look at this. So now you can show how it's represented with a number. So you have 100th, 200ths, and so on. And then, this one, I only have 1 more minute, I know. But this was, check this out, back to fraction tiles. Now with equivalencies, come down here and you take out the wall, okay? Then you fill in, or you have the students fill in on their desk, all of the equivalent fractions. 10 tenths, oops. 12, oops, sorry, y'all. And it should follow, okay. And then you can go to your workspace, oops, sorry, settings. and click decimals. Now look at that, right? So now you have, 33 hundredths, 25 hundredths, and you're showing, and you can toggle back and forth to the different types of notations. And then you see this black thing here. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's a tracker. That's what it is. You can move this, and now you can see which decimals are equal to 1/2. Well, we have 5/10ths. We have 50 hundredths, right? You can't do 60, and it can show you can move this back and forth. Even when you scroll down, you can change it down here. So this is super cool to show the different types of equivalencies, and you can play around with them rather than, I'm not saying rather than, but in addition to, or if you wanted to start, here's number lines. And I was talking to first grade about the skip counting piece, and Gordon and I talked about this too. For skip counting, you can change this. How did I get that to change? Oh, here it is. To if you're skip counting by twos, this changes. It's not working for me right now. So there's just so much that you can do, and they need to see the fractions and the decimals in various different, in different ways. So you'll have the fraction tiles. Here's your 1/2, and then here's your number line, right? So 6/6 is equal to 1/2. Well, what's 7/6, right? It's 1 and 2 more sixths, right? So it's just super cool. You got to get in there and play around, and if you create a share code, then you have it for years to come, or the next lesson or something like that. So you just have to get in there and experiment with it. Isn't that cool? Yeah, and don't be afraid of it. Like, you can't break it. You can't. And the kids I think will really like it too, because that they like being on the computer. And this is just another visual for them. So that's it. That's all I got. And we could go over more in PLC, or if you guys want me to create any tasks for you, I can do that too. You just gotta let me know.
Well, yeah. Thank you, Ms. Fleshman. And again, thank you all for joining us this Friday morning. I know it's, past our time. I'll hang on for a little while if you guys have any questions. But yeah, feel free to play around in it. Have your students play around in it. Like Ms. Fleshman said, you can't break it. You can just add, and you can get a little busy, but you can clear all very easily. And again, that's just like using manipulatives. Things can get a little messy as well, but that's how we learn. So
Thank you.
thank you.